welcome. I'm staying here in the hallway at a hotel where I just heard Larry Osborn do a fantastic job of speaking to a group of executive pastors. And so I've got him right here, and we wanted to do just a little bit of an interview for you. But Larry, what are you going to talk about when we come out to California and hear you speak to us in May night?
Well, ultimately, I'm going to talk about whatever it is you want me to talk about, but the subjects we've been talking about really have to do with two sides, leadership and soul care. Obviously I've done a lot of stuff on leadership over the years, and there's many things we can talk about, but leadership without spiritual formation is absolutely a waste of time. I mean, we're not trying to build churches, we're not trying to prove something to people about ourselves. What we're trying to do is make disciples for Jesus. So I hope to talk about how you create a culture that creates disciples and creates leaders, and yet at the same time, how do you continue to care for the people, I call them at the back of the phone in Jesus' line. Those people matter to him as well, and sometimes we confuse discipleship with leadership. Sometimes we find ourselves comparing with fast-growing or people that are in completely different situations inappropriately, and we end up with drive-by guilting spiritually. Yeah. And so I just want to help everybody that comes be a better them and more faithful in the calling that God has given each of them to their unique church setting.
I think one of the most things that will help our pastors the most is that your start, how you began at Northcoast, and how God has taken you through that process of growing will really be helpful to pastors of churches and smaller churches that can relate to your story. So yeah, that will be awesome.
Yeah, because I definitely know what it's like to be in a small church. We were 5 years, I was the only person. During years 1 to 3, we grew by one person, which is really, that's going to get you on the Outreach 100 list. So we kind of, I definitely know what it's like to be small and mid-size, and I've also learned a bunch of lessons from being in a massive place like we are now. And hopefully we'll do a great job of focusing on those concepts that are transferable, not those ones that are unique to San Diego or unique to my experience or unique to a larger church, but what works everywhere, all sizes, all stages, and even different cultural times. I've been at this for 3 decades, so I often try to ask myself, is this enough of a principle and work through the cultural changes as well?
Right. I think, too, for me, just hearing your heart today and hearing you talk over lunch today about, you have a real passion for pastors. You meet with 25 of them or so every so often, and you're giving yourself back to them. And I think that's just huge, because in our groups that we work with, we're highly relational. And I just really appreciate the fact that you're willing to pour your heart out, give us some of your time in a day with us in May 9th. So well, that's great.
I'll look forward to it, because pastors are kind of my heart. I love any way I can help somebody who's out there in the front line of the kingdom.